All right, so guys, we are starting our first chapter, which is actually chapter 6, because your textbook that I try to, kind of loosely follow is in a very weird order. But it is chapter 6. So it's all about employment basics. So since we need to kind of have a job before we can kind of move into the rest of our life into all of this, that's why we're starting here. We want to talk about getting a job and how you get paid in a job and all that good stuff. I love that quote on there from Confucius. Choose a job you love and you will never have to work a day in your life. What do you guys think? Is it true? Yeah, if you love what you do, it doesn't feel like a job. Like, I don't ever say I have to go to work tomorrow. I say I go to school every day. To me, that's a very different mindset. I go to school. I have class. I don't feel like I go to work. I get to, just hang out with you guys all day. I want to hang out with you guys. Most of you. Right now, all of you are, good. Even Luke, you're great. All right, so this first section is about computing periodic salary based on annual contract salary. So that pre-test you guys took yesterday, the first questions it was asking you, if I make this much per year, how much do I make every week, how much do I make every month, all that good stuff. That's what we're going to talk about today. Also some abbreviations for how they abbreviate things in want ads. Just some data, I like numbers, kind of some information here for you about some different occupations. This was last updated. It's a little older. It's from 2014, so it was 5 years ago. But just kind of looking at number of employees for all the different careers on here. Like teachers, there's 7.8 million teachers in the U.S. But then you look, hairdressers. Yeah, 343,000 hairdressers and cosmetologists. That's a lot. Okay, but you can kind of look through and kind of see kind of the number. It's the lowest one on here. Musicians and singers. Does that surprise you? That's the lowest? It wouldn't surprise me either, right? It's hard to make money at that kind of a job. And then inspectors, testers, sorters, samplers, weighers. It's almost 500,000 of those. What kind of jobs are those? Where do you typically work on a job like that? You think that's what sampler means? You got to go to Costco to get samples. That's where the good ones are. Kroger doesn't have as many. Typically, where do you think these jobs are? Not eating samples. That's not what that means. Could be. So you guys are all kind of, those all could be. My mind comes together factories, working in a factory, kind of doing jobs like this. Food inspection. Are you hungry right now? All right. There are 6.8 million workers called moonlighters. They hold more than one job. How many of you guys, how many of your parents work more than one job? Any of your parents? A couple of you? Yeah. Do any of you have more than one job? A couple of you? Nice. All right, the average work week is about 47 hours. What do they normally say the average work week is? 40 hours is your typical work week. They say it's 40 hours. But they say most people work 47 hours a week. 50% of workers work more than 40 hours per week. It's hard to believe. Half of the people that work over 40 hours. You did all summer? Wow, that's a lot. You need a break. Sometimes your body needs just a decompressed day. Average commute to work, 25.8 minutes. Average commute to work, how long it takes you to get to work. For me, I can get here in 13 minutes from my house, so I'm underneath that. What? Yeah. I live in Waterville. I mean, I jump right on the highway, though, so I'm all highway. What's that? Oh, okay. Yeah. I drive over that every single day. I live near Fallen Timbers Mall. All right, guys. Approximately 3.7 million workers work from home. That's a lot of people working from home. There's some days I think, oh my God, I would love to work from home and not have to get up and put on real clothes and all of that. But then some days I'm like, I just want out of my house. Right? I think that that would get old after a while working from home. I think it'd be great for a while, and then after a while you'd be like, you know what, I'm ready to get out of the house. All right, so just some interesting statistics in there. All right, we're going to do an activity called Career Lineup. This is the first time I've done this activity, so you guys are my guinea pigs, okay? Sorry. So I need 12 volunteers. Come on up here if you're willing to volunteer for me. Come on up. I need 12 people to come up front. All right, guys. So when you are applying for jobs, some of these are kind of obvious. They use a lot of different shorthands. You guys are all well-versed in shorthand from texting, right? But some of them, they make sense. You know, employment agency, AGCY, I'm going to assume you guys would recognize that as agency. Assistant. This is bilingual, BI/LING. Makes sense. Why do you guys not spell it out when you text? Honestly, I think a lot of this came from when you would place newspaper ads and you had to pay like per line of your ad. So they try to shorthand everything so they don't have to pay as much to place an ad. That's where I'm assuming this came from. So most of them are pretty obvious. GD, good. I mean, do you really need to abbreviate good? But they do. K, this is a math class. You think you might see K a lot on things? So if you see K, it's 1,000. So if I make, 10K, I'm making 10,000. Okay, so if you see the K, it's 1,000. This one's weird to me. $2.M. That one was weird. Maximum pay is so much per hour. That one is weird to me. And then with, we use that all the time. All right, so here we go. Might want to pick up your pencil now. So employment agency, we, on most of our tests and quizzes, will have a vocab section. This class has a ton of vocab in it. We'll play different vocab games and stuff to help you memorize them. Some of them are really easy to remember. But an employment agency is a business that helps people find jobs and helps employers find employees. So do any of you know if your parents went through an employment agency to find a job? Some of you? Now, do employment agencies just find you a job out of the goodness of their heart and just, no. Employment agencies will help you find a job, but they also will take part of the money that you earn. And we'll talk about that. Yeah. So if you can find a job on your own, that's the way to go. But I know there are some jobs that only hire through agencies. Just kind of, if you really want that job, you might have to be in a spot where you have to use one. 35%? Where do you work? Do you do it from home? That's cool. Like, how many hours a week do you work doing that? Do you make pretty good money doing that? No? No. I'm thinking maybe you and I need to talk later. I need to figure out how to do this so I can do that at home. All right, so what is a resume? Have you guys written resumes in English yet? Yeah? So I thought you guys did that as a junior. Not resume. Resume. A short account of your education and qualifications for employment. I will tell you, if you have typos on your resume, they will not look at it. They're going to throw it away. Yeah. So guys, yeah, if they're long, they're not looking at it. You need to be short, concise, and to the point. I mean, if they have, 300 resumes on their desk, yours is 6 pages long, I ain't looking at that. You got a typo, your formatting doesn't look nice, your fonts are not the same, or they don't match and go together, they're throwing it out. You're not on resume paper, they're probably not looking at it. What's resume paper? It's like a thicker, more fibrous paper. Go to the store, there'll be a section that says resume paper. Comes in a box, like a real skinny box. Now, if you're like applying to like a part-time job while you're in high school, you probably don't got to worry about that. But in the real world, once you guys graduate, you want your resume on resume paper. Okay? You want it on resume paper. May I suggest it comes usually in white or a cream color. I would recommend cream because if everybody else has white, whose will stand out? Yours. Okay? Yes. A lot of times. So you need to make sure yours stands out. Resume paper, cream color doesn't hurt because it's going to stand out for you. All right, and then W-4s. Once you are hired, you will fill out a W-4 form, a form used by employers for tax purposes. This tells them how much to withhold from your check for tax purposes. So anytime you get a new job, you always have to fill this out. I remember when I was younger, and it would be like, how many are you claiming? And I'm like, 0, 1, 2, I don't know. The more you claim, the higher number you claim for your taxes, and when you fill this out, the less money they hold out of your check for taxes, which is great, except you can't make up a number. But like a lot of times some people, like even though if it's just you, you can claim 1, you can claim yourself. But I'll say a lot of people will claim 0 instead. They'll take a little more out for taxes that way, which you might think, why would you want to do that? But when you do taxes at the end of the year, do you want to owe? I don't want to owe money. I'd rather get used to living without some of that all year long. That way at the end, I'm like, okay, I don't have to pay money in. Nothing's worse than doing your taxes and find out you owe like $6,000. I'd cry. Yeah. So even though like we're a family of 5, I think I claim 1, even though I could claim 5, just because I want more money at the back at the end. W-2 is what they give you at the end of the year that sells how much money you made, how much they withheld for the year, things like that. W-4 is telling them how much to hold out from your check all year long. If you work at a job, I guarantee you filled one out. You probably just didn't even realize that's what it was. I guarantee you filled one out. Yeah, I guarantee you did. All right, so thinking back to that pre-test you guys all did yesterday, here's where a lot of you were like, I don't know what any of this stuff means. So how many are in a year? You may want to highlight this in your notes, circle it, star it. You have to know this. Like the whole semester long, we are going to use these terms, and you have to know how many in a year there are. Okay, so whatever you need to kind of make this stand out in your notes so you don't lose track of it. All right, so annual. So how many times in a year is annual? 1. That's an easy one. Annual is 1. What about semi-annual? That is 2. It's twice a year. Very inappropriate, but it always comes to mind. I think I said this to some of you yesterday. Victoria's Secret semi-annual sale. Everybody's heard of that, right? It's twice a year. I don't know. But that's what comes to mind when I hear semi-annual. I'm like, oh yeah, that sale happens twice a year. Okay. How about monthly? That is 12. There are 12 months in a year. I'm always shocked at how many times kids don't know this. Some students I've run across as a senior can't tell me the months in order. That's bad. Semi-monthly. Oh, I heard a plethora of answers. So if a semi-annual was twice a year, semi-monthly is twice per month. So how many times in a year is that? That's 24. Now, when you start a job, you get paid different ways. Some jobs pay you every week. Some jobs pay you or every other week. Some jobs pay you twice a month. Very rarely you see jobs that pay you once a month. But semi-monthly, this is how I get paid. I get paid twice a month. So like for me, I get paid on the 10th and the 25th of every month. So yeah. It's nice to see all that money, but then as you're waiting to get paid again, you're like, oh my God, I have nothing left. I need to get paid. Weekly. How many weeks in a year? There's 52. Bi-weekly. That's 26. I would say the ones people mess up the most is semi-monthly and bi-weekly. Semi-monthly is I get paid twice a month. Bi-weekly is every other week. So if there's 52 weeks in a year, 52 divided by 2 is 26. So it's 26 times per year. What about quarterly? What does that mean? That's 4. It'd be 4 times a year. And daily? How many days are in a year? 365. Actually, this next year, there will be 366. I think this next year, I believe this next year is a leap year. Leap years are every 4 years, and I think years that end in a 0.
Yeah.
I think that's how that works. All right. So here we go. First problem. Julianne found a job listed in the classified ads that pays a yearly salary of $41K. What is the weekly salary based on the annual salary? All right. So we're going to have to kind of figure a few things out. First of all, what on earth is it asking me, right? I know you guys typically hate story problems. This class is full of them. Sorry. So it's all right. These are like real world things you're going to have to kind of figure out, right? So a yearly salary of 41K. What does 41K mean? It's 41,000, right? So it's 41, and what you're doing is multiplying by 1,000, so it's 41,000. All right. And then if it's, what is the weekly salary? How many weeks are there in a year? There's 52. So what do I do with this number? Divide by 52. So if you do not walk in my classroom every day and grab a calculator, shame on you. Make sure you have one with you every day when you walk in here. If you need to grab one, go grab one. All right, so 41,000 divided by 52, $788. Now, thank you. Thanks. Did you get it right too? Yes. On the same page. All right, guys, a couple things as we kind of get going in this class so that your first quiz that we have in here, you don't lose a whole lot of points because you're just not, being smart and thinking. In here, we talk about money every day. So if you're talking about money, what should your final answer have? A dollar sign. Where does the dollar sign go? In the front. Nothing will make me take points off your paper faster than you sticking that dollar sign at the end. Instead of taking off 1, I may take off 2 points just because I'm annoyed by it. Do you understand me? That is the most obnoxious thing in the world when people stick the dollar sign on the end. Don't be stupid. Don't be that guy or that girl. All right? Drives me nuts. You look so ignorant when you do that. It goes in the front. Also, when we're talking money, how many digits do you have past the decimal point? 2. Do you know how to round? Let's talk real quick because every year people struggle with rounding. So if I have something, I don't know, so if it's like 3.478. Since I want to round to the second digit, guys, please pay attention because every year people mess up. And I have projects that we're going to do that if you mess up on the first rounding, every answer on every slide thereafter is wrong because you rounded wrong. Okay? So if this is the answer I get, would you round this to 47 or 48? This would go to 348, right? Because this number here, if this number is a 5 or higher, it's going to round that number up 1. Okay? So if it's 3.999, and I want to round to here, this is 5 or higher, so that's going to round this up to a 10, technically. So instead of $3.99, it's actually $4. That would round to $4. Yeah, so if you struggle with rounding, please see me early on, okay? I will happily sit with you, work with you one-on-one, drill and practice you to death to make sure we know how to round correctly. I have some students who see this and round this to 350. That's not what I asked. They're like, oh, 47, it rounds up to 50. No, it does not. Okay, nearest cent, that second digit. Okay? Okay, number 2. Karen found a job with an annual salary of $67.3K. What is her monthly pay rounded to the nearest dollar? So 67.3K. Okay, so this is what does K stand for? Stands for, yes, it stands for 1,000. So some of you can just look at that and know, like you just told me, no big deal. If you struggle, 67.3, K stands for 1,000. Multiply that number by 1,000. So it's being divided by 1,000 is what's happened. Yep. So it's going to be 67,300. And if this wants it to be changed to monthly, how many months are in a year? 12. What do I have to do with that? Divide this by 12. So 67,300. 5,006. What am I writing? Good. It was 0.3 repeating, so it's just 33 cents. So looking at your answer, do you have a dollar sign in the front? In the front, not the end. Do you have a decimal point? Did you round to 2 spaces at the end? Right? 2 digits for talking change. What? Oh, you're right. I didn't round to the nearest dollar. So when you're done with the problem, you should always go back and reread to make sure you answer it correctly, like I just did not. Thank you. It says nearest dollar. Oops. So nearest dollar is what? Yeah. This change does not round that up, right? This is not higher than 50 cents. So 5,608. I will. Thank you for catching that. Yeah. He's mad in algebra too when the directions were to just factor, and Kurt factored and solved, set each one equal to 0. But it wasn't an equation to start with. There was no equal sign. Yet he stuck one on there and solved anyway. Sorry, Kurt. Read the directions, right? See, even I had to go back and double check that. I was totally not going to round to the nearest dollar. All right, questions here? Doing okay? Easy stuff? It's pretty hard. Okay, we'll keep drilling you. You'll get it eventually. All right, number 3. Dylan took an appliant-paid job through an employment agency. I said appliant, applicant. That's where it's applicant, not appliant. The job pays $395 per week. Dylan must pay a fee to the employment agency. The fee is 20% of his first 4 weeks' pay. How much money must Dylan pay the agency? So at least for him, it's only for 4 weeks, and then it looks like he's okay, doesn't have to pay them. But how do we figure this out? Good. I would start with the $395. Why would you multiply by 4? Good. It said for 4 weeks, right? His first 4 weeks' pay. So we need to figure out, well, how much does he make? So $395 times 4. And then how much are they taking? So how do I figure out what 20% is? Good. You're going to multiply that by 0.2, or if it helps you to see it, it's 0.20, 20%. Yes. To change a percentage to a decimal, guys, another thing we need to make sure we know how to do, because we do it all the time in here, is to change a percent to a decimal, right? You're going to always divide them by 100. So like if it had said 2%, it wouldn't be 0.2, it would be 0.02. Okay? So anytime you're switching a percentage to a decimal, you always divide by 100. All right, so 1580 times 0.20. So how much must he pay the agency? $316. Double check your answer. Did you put a dollar sign on it? Did you put it in the front? You put it at the end. I'm serious. I'm taking like 20 points off. You put it at the end. It drives me nuts. I see signs like billboards, like on restaurants, and they do that. I'm like, what the heck is wrong with you? I won't eat there just based on principle. Drives me crazy. All right, number 4. Ken is a mechanic who owns Ace Auto Repair. He needs a foreign car expert and is placing a 12-line ad on jobsrx.com. The cost of an ad, oh, there's an X, mine got covered up, X lines long, is given by the following piecewise function. Oh, that sounds hard. What do you guys think? Are piecewise functions, do you think those are going to be hard? They're really not. Yeah, they're super easy. Find the cost of a 12-line ad. I want to make sure you understand what this is showing you. Okay? This is standing for the cost. This is of however many lines. So if you look over here, it's giving you your criteria. If X, the number of lines, is less than or equal to 4, it's going to cost me $56. If the number of my lines is more than 4, if I type it in this equation, it's going to tell me how much it's going to cost. It's $56 plus 6 times the number of lines minus 4. Okay, so a piecewise function, really all you have to do is be like, okay, which line do I fit in, and then plug it into that line. So if it wants a 12-line ad, do I follow the top one or the bottom one? The bottom one, right? Because 12 is more than 4. So I'm just going to plug it in here. 56 plus 6 times, and in place of the x, I'm putting in 12. I mean, I can go real basic here. 12 minus 4. And I just need to see what that is. 56. Yep. So since this is a 12-line ad, I'm looking, does 12 less than or equal to 4, or is it more than 4? More than 4. So I'm going to use this part of it. So I just took the 12 and I just plugged it in where x was. Then I'm just going to type that right in my calculator as is, and it will tell me how much it cost. 100 what? Got 104. What number did you tell me right here? It's not 72. What'd you type in your calculator? It's not 6 times 12. It's 6 times 12 minus 4. What's 12 minus 4? Guys, hold on. I want to make sure everybody's okay. Order of operations would make you subtract these first and then multiply by 12. So it should be $104. Talk to me. What's wrong? Order of operations would be parentheses first, 12 minus 4, which is 8. And then 8 times 6 is 48. Yep, that'd be it. Guys, I'll be real honest. In this class, we use a whole lot of formulas. You can type the entire thing in all at one time. It's going to be faster. And you avoid those kind of crazy math mistakes that you might make. Okay? So if I told you I was placing a 3-line ad, how much would it cost for 3 lines? Be $56, right? Because 3 lines, 3 is less than 4. I use this line, and it's just 56 bucks. Okay? So depending on how many lines it is, I just kind of seeing where that fits. What if I was going to do a 4-line ad? Why is that one still 56? 4 is less than or equal to 4. Well, okay, so it's still only $56. What if I did a 5-line ad? Where does that one fall? 5 is greater than 4. I'm falling here. So then I'd be looking at 56 plus 6 times 5 minus 4. I would just be plugging the 5 in here and seeing what I get, which is 62. Yes. Yep. You just really got to see which line that falls in. Other questions on the piecewise function? That was a lovely noise. All right. Number 5. Roger is a graphic artist, so his resume is several pages long and includes an artistic portfolio. His prospective employers want hard copies of his resume, so he wants to have 400 copies of his resume printed. I don't know about you, but I don't know 400 potential people I'm applying to. It seems a bit much, but anyway. All right. Maybe he needs 400 pages because it's a lot of artwork, maybe. We'll go with that because that makes more sense. Yeah. Anyway. His local print shop charges $91.50 for the first 200 copies and $42 for every additional 100 copies. How much will the 400 copies cost, including a sales tax of 6%? All right, so there's kind of, you guys see there's kind of some pieces to this, right? So he wants 400 copies altogether. All right, so I want 400. Let's just kind of piece this out so we can organize our info. I need 400 copies. His local print shop charges $91.50 for the first 200. So the first 200 copies is going to cost $91.50. Some of you are getting it. Yes. All right, so there's 200 of his copies. The next 100 copies is going to cost $42. And another 100 copies, another $42. All right, that way 200, 300, 400. I get my 400 copies. All right, so 200, first 200 costs $91.50. Every 100 additional copies is $42. So $91.50 plus 42 plus 42. $175.50. Now, that is just the cost for his copies, but we all know we have to pay tax. So this says there is a 6% sales tax. What do I have to do with this? Okay, I'm going to multiply this by point. Why is it 0.06? 6. What if you wrote 0.6? That's 60%. Oh my gosh, that's terrible tax. Don't do that, okay? Times 0.06. That gives me $10.53. Is that my answer? What's that? That's the tax. I have to add that. Honestly, I don't even know. So $175.50 plus $10.53. So $186.03. Now, I need you guys to know something about me. I am a lazy mathematician. Okay? I will teach you as many ways as possible for you to be a lazy mathematician. Okay? Meaning if I can do something in fewer steps, I'm going to do it in fewer steps. This is a problem that you did way more work than I ever would have. Okay? Reason being, let me show you how I would have done this for the sales tax. Now, obviously, some of you can do in your head or whatnot. That's fine. But I'm just saying, once you get to the $175.50, I'm not multiplying by 0.06. Because it didn't ask me how much the tax was. It asked me what my final total is going to be. What do you multiply by so I can do it all in one step? Does anybody know? Nobody knows. I'm going to teach you something new today. I'm going to multiply by 1.06. Try it. Grab your calculator. What's 175.50 times 1.06? $186.03. It's exactly what I got down here. The 1. The 1 takes this number here and adds it right on to whatever you're doing here. It's including that in the final total. So if I just want the tax, I'll multiply by 0.06. If I want the total, like, hey, I want to include all this with it, 1.06. It's included. Yep. Nope, any problem. So if you're in the store and you're like, oh my gosh, I only have so much money on me, am I going to have enough for taxes on this? You know, my total is $23. I'm like in 7% tax, right? I'm going to type in 23 times 1.07. And it will give me my total with tax. Yep, 1.6 then. Yep, it's always going to take whatever you started with and add it onto it. Yeah. Now, if that's too much for you and you're like, oh my gosh, I can never remember, that's fine. If you want to do it in multiple steps like we did down here, that's fine. It works. I'm just a lazy mathematician. I do things in as few steps as possible. Okay. There we go. All right. So number 6. An online job search site charges employers fees to post job listings. Their price list is shown in the table. The prices per posting decrease as the number of postings increase. It's kind of like when you guys buy in bulk, right? The more you buy, the cheaper it actually gets for each one. Same idea. What is the percent savings if an employer decides to post 4 jobs? So in other words, if I post 1 job, it's going to cost me $395 for every job. If I post 4, they're only charging me $350 for each. So I'm saving, right? That's right. If I buy 1 pound of hamburger, it costs this much. If I buy it in bulk and buy 10 pounds, it's a lot less per pound. Well, I mean, I didn't make up the problem. All right. But anyway, so like what this question's asking is like, what percentage do I save by doing that? So my percent discount. You go to the store, something's on sale for 20% off. That's a percent discount. It's how much you are saving. So this is asking you what percent do you save by posting 4 of them as opposed to 1 of them, okay? This is a formula that you guys are going to want to highlight, star, circle, whatever. You need to know this. We use this formula many times throughout the semester in like different ways, forms, and whatnot, so it kind of keeps showing up again. So it's the original minus the discount divided by the original, and then you multiply by 100 because it's a percent. Okay? So that will give you your percent discount. So if we look at this problem, it wants to know if I'm posting 4 jobs. So original price would be if I only did 1. So the original, if I post 1, is $395. The discount price, I'm posting 4 of them, so my discount price is $350. Divided by the original price, which was $395. Then I'm going to take whatever answer I get, I'm going to multiply it by 100 to turn it into a percentage. Now, if you were typing this all in on the calculator at one time, I need you to be careful of something. Do not just type in 395 minus 350 divided by 395 all in one line. You either need parentheses or type it in as a fraction. Okay? Or you can type in 395 minus 350, hit equals, divide by 395, hit equals, and then multiply by 100. Order of operations in your calculator is being smarter than you want it to be. Okay? So everybody try it to make sure that you're doing it right. I don't want the calculator to be the problem. Yep, you were finding what percent of a discount he's actually getting. So if you do it correctly, you should get about 11.4%. If you did not, now I'll be honest, the way I typed this in, I typed in 395 minus 350 and I hit equals. Then I divided by 395, I hit equals. And then I multiplied by 100 and hit equals. That's how I did it. Do you guys know how to put fractions in these? Some of you yes, some of you no. Green, it's green button, and then 2 buttons above that, the y equals. And then just hit enter, and it'll put in a fraction for you. So green button, and then y equals, it's right above it. And then hit enter, and it'll bring in a fraction for you. So you can put fractions in here. All right, again, make sure you are getting 11.4%. Okay, if not, we need to talk about calculator usage. You did it? Good. All right, anybody need help? Elena, help? No, just stretching? Okay. We okay? All right, before we get to this next part, I want to take a brain break. All right, we have one last thing I want to talk through today. And some of you are going to look at me like, seriously, we're doing this as seniors in high school? And some of you are like, oh, thank God, somebody's finally going to teach me how to do this. It's calculating time. Like, we're going to talk about time cards and, like, you know, so you can see how many hours you've worked and whatnot. It is shocking to me how many people don't know how to tell time or can't read a clock or can't tell me how many hours have passed, okay? We are going to have to be able to do that. All right, so we're going to start slow, and I have a clock up there we can kind of play around with if it helps you, or we'll talk about some different ways to do this, okay? All right, so the first one I hope is pretty easy. The time is 3 o'clock. What time will it be in 1 hour? It will be 4 o'clock. We're not even talking about that right now. It's too advanced for right now. All right, so it's 4 o'clock. All right, the time is 4:30. What time was it 45 minutes ago? All right, let's see if a clock will help. Let's move this clock so it's 4:30. 4:30. All right, so if it's roughly 4:30, now, do you guys know the clock is divided into like 4 quadrants, right? So if you don't know that, let me draw it up here real quick. So a clock, when I think of a clock, I think of it divided like this. I do a lot of math just based on looking at the clock because it helps me. So when I see a clock, I think about 4 quadrants because each of these quadrants is how long? 15 minutes. They're in 15-minute chunks, right? So if I'm thinking about half a clock, that's 30 minutes. And then another chunk of it is going to be take me to 45 minutes. So if I'm sitting right now at 4:30, 45 minutes ago, I have to go back. So I can think about, all right, so that worked out well, didn't it? Sorry, let me erase that. All right, so if I'm thinking about my clock at 4:30, I need to go 45 minutes ago. So I think about it in those pieces. So if I go 30 minutes back, I'm back to 4. Because a lot of times you don't have a clock to play around with, right? You have to think of this in your head. And then, so that's 30 minutes. And then another 15 is going to take me to the 45. So what time is it? It's 3:45. You need to be able to think through these, maybe not necessarily with the clock. In my mind, it helps to kind of chunk those in those half-hour, 15-minute kind of like chunks. It's easier to kind of work around. So it would be 3:45. All right, how much time passes between 8 and 11:45? 3 hours and 45 minutes. Hopefully that one was pretty easy, right? Oops, so 3 hours, 45 minutes. Now, this is going to sound silly to a lot of people, but count on your fingers. I know you're like, oh my gosh, I am 17, 18 years old. I should not have to count on my fingers anymore. Yeah, it's easier, especially when you're doing time. Count on your fingers. So the time is 7:30. What time will it be in 1 hour and 45 minutes? Okay. Some of you are real quick. You got these. Others of you are like, I don't know. Okay, I want to kind of slow this down, at least for today, to try to help people out. So 7:30, 1 hour later is going to give me 8:30. And then another 30 minutes onto this will make it 9. And then I need 15 more minutes to make it 9:15. Okay, sometimes people need to kind of chunk this to make it nice, even numbers that they can count on. How much time passes between 7:45 and 11:15? See, I just heard a whole lot of answers there. All right, let's count on our fingers, shall we? I'm giving you permission without laughing at you to count on your fingers here. So 7:45, 8:45, 9:45, 10:45. Can I go to the next one? No, because it's too far. So I'm at 3 hours. That gets me to 10:45. How long is it from 10:45 to 11:15? That's 30 minutes. I have a lot of people who will tell me that that is 4 hours and 30 minutes. Because they're going, oh yeah, from 7 to 11, that's 4, and then from a 45 on the clock to 15, that's a half hour. Count it on your fingers. You went too far. Okay? All right. The time is 11:30. What time will it be in 2¼ hours? What does a quarter mean? That's 15 minutes. Now, let me make sure we're clear on that, because most people, you hear a quarter and you think of 25, because a quarter is 25 cents. It is not. What did I do with that clock when I first showed you? I drew this and I divided it into quarters. How long was each quarter? It was 15 minutes of that clock. So between 11:30, 2 hours later, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30. So that takes me to 1:30, and then I need 15 more minutes. it'd be 1:45. Do it in chunks. Take care of the hour part first, then look at the next part. Like, do it one piece at a time. How much time is there between 7:15 and 10:45? Okay. Some of you get these real quick, and I love that. Those of you struggling, use your fingers. 7:15, 8:15, 9:15, 10:15. I can't go any further and past it, so that's 3 hours. So I'm at 10:15, and then 10:15 to 10:45 is 30 minutes. Okay, count on your fingers, it helps. How much time is there between 11:25 and 4:30? Oh, some of you guys are good. So 11:25, 12:25, 1:25, 2:25, 3:25, 4:25. That was 5 hours. Then 4:25 to 4:30 is another 5 minutes. All right, and last one. The time is 2:45. What time is that? It is 2:45. Let's make sure we're clear on that. If it's 2:45, a quarter until it reaches 3, it's at 2:45. What time was it 3 3/4 hours ago? All right, so let's, one thing at a time. Let's go 3 hours ago. So 2:45, we got to work it backwards. 2:45, right? So if it's 2:45, 1:45, 12:45, 11:45, it makes 11:45. And 3/4 hours ago. How long's 3/4? That's 45 minutes. So take away another 45 minutes, it's 11 o'clock. All right, we're going to kind of periodically kind of throw in some time stuff in there because I know students struggle with that. Okay? Questions on anything we went over today? You good?